Welcome to all my rune weavers out there. I am Birch, the rune weaver, and will be continuing with another two-part videos. Part one, the gods of Asgard, and part two, the goddesses of Asgard. In these two videos, we're going to be taking a closer look at the Aesir Asgardians um, before we move on next week to the Vanir gods, some of whom are also in Asgard. And in a later week yet, we're going to be looking specifically at Loki and his/her children. So before you get upset at any of your favorites missing, just know there's a bit of method even to my madness. And speaking of madness, let us begin with part part one, uh, Gods of Asgard. Odin, All-Father, Wanderer, Seeker, Bringer of ecstasy, of truth, full of wiles. Odin, Odin, Odin. He is called the All-Father. He's the Wanderer. He's the giver of advice in the Havamal. He's the gray old man, the father of Yule, the sitter on the high seat, lover of wolves, lover of ravens. He hung once on the world tree for 9 days and 9 nights, so that he might acquire the runes. He gave up his eye at the well of Mimir, so he could gain wisdom. He is a god you should always respect, but you shouldn't necessarily trust him. For his stories are as full of getting his ways by deceit and trickery as they are by doing things above board and honest. In his hall, Valhalla, the hall of the slain, it's roofed with golden shields that sparkle in the sun. Valkyries take Einherjar, to this hall where Odin collects them, waiting for Ragnarok, when they will come out and battle for him. Odin knows many things, things that are hidden, things you cannot see. He knows many spells. He knows much magic. He learned magic of women. He learned magic of men. He did not shrink from knowledge because always he is a seeker of things to know, a seeker of things that are hidden. From his high seat, Hijlof, he could look out across the 9 worlds, and fewer things escaped his one eye than many others could see with 2. You might find him at your door, an old man, bent and gray, leaning on a stick that perhaps is a spear. Perhaps those 2 dogs at his heels, maybe they are not dogs. Maybe they are Jerry and Frecky, the wolves. And maybe those 2 ravens which fly behind him. Maybe they are Mimir. They are My apologies. Maybe they're Hugin and Munin, thought and memory. Of the 2, he fears the loss of memory more. He loves to travel in disguise. He loves to meddle. He loves to learn. He is known by countless names. Odin, the All-Father, the Lord of Gallows, the Lord of Wanderers, Father of Gods, Bringer of Life. Thor and Tyr. Thor. Who cannot love Thor, son of Earth, son of Odin, big, broad-shouldered, red-bearded, driver of goats? Whenever there is trouble in Asgard, he is there, wielding Mjolnir. ready to take on opponents many times his size, all never backing down from a fight, never backing down from a chance to drink and make merry. Sometimes that got the better of him. Once he even wrestled old age herself, and to the shock and awe of all in Utgard, they watched as Thor almost, almost defeated the undefeatable El, old age. They watched in awe as he drank and drank and drank so much from a horn that he actually lowered the sea level and made the tides. They watched in even greater astonishment yet as they saw him pick up a cat that was none other than the world serpent, causing all the earth to shake. He protected sailors, he protected fishermen. He rowed out to the ocean and gave battle with the Midgard serpent with the heart of an ox. Oftentimes, he would be joined by Loki or his servants, the Alfi and Roskva. Wherever his journeys took him, inevitably, his hammer would fly through the sky and giants would fall. The Mjolnir is perhaps his greatest weapon and his greatest symbol. The Mjolnir, worn around the neck, is a symbol for many heathens of their faith, because we all want to remember him, the great Thor, son of Earth, son of Odin. Never, ever consider him just another Marvel character. And then there is Tyr, where Odin is wily and you never know what to expect of him. Tyr, the one-handed god, wears his missing hand with pride, knowing it was lost in exchange for preserving the honor of the gods. To Tyr, there is nothing more valuable, nothing more important, nothing more precious than justice and honor. His name, interestingly enough, is actually cognate to Deus Piter, the ancient sky father of the Indo-Europeans. In places like Rome and Greece, his name became Zeus and Jupiter, king of the gods. But in the far north, Odin seems to have taken that role with prominence, while Tyr remained a battle god, a god soldiers prayed to before they went to war, a god that a king might look to when trying to serve his kingdom with justice. How did he come to lose his hand? Most of the story I will share with you in the video on Loki and his/her children, but suffice it to say that his son Fenrir was a massive wolf that the gods of Asgard tried to raise as a harmless puppy, but it didn't work. They became so afraid of him that only Tyr was brave enough to go out to the wolf and play with him and bring him his food and be his friend. The two, by many accounts, were friends. The mighty god who feared nothing, and the big, fierce wolf who could not be afraid of anything. Then, one day, Odin commissioned a very special chain to bind Fenrir, which was so thin and delicate that even though he'd broken many stronger and tougher looking chains before, Fenrir suspected a trap. He said he would only agree to let the gods wrap it around him if they promised to untie him if he couldn't break free. And to make sure of this, he asked one of them to put their hand inside his mouth, and he promised he would not so much as break the skin unless the gods refused to set him free. The gods wrapped Fenrir in the chain, and Tyr set his hand inside Fenrir's mouth, knowing it was indeed a trick, knowing that if Fenrir failed to break the unbreakable chain, he would bite down and remove his arm and his hand at the wrist. Sure enough, Fenrir failed to escape, and he asked the gods to release him, but the gods refused. And so Fenrir bit down on his friend's wrist and severed the hand. The wrist was often referred to as the wolf joint in memory of this story. And Tyr, the great warrior god, let his friend bite off his hand because it was the only way to make even the treachery that they were offering to Fenrir, simply because Odin knew that one day the wolf would kill him. Tyr was widely worshipped as a god of bravery, of courage, and even today he is a god you would speak to when you want to do the right thing for honor, for justice, even when you know it might cost you. He is also a god who looks fondly upon amputees in recognition of his lost hand, proof that even if you lose something as precious as your hand, you can still keep your head high and live your best life if you know that you have the courage for it. Next, let's take a look at Heimdall and Baldur. Heimdall, the ever-vigilant watchman of the gods. He sits in his hall on the base of Yggdrasil, and whether accidentally or on purpose, is often coated in the same white mud that the Norns spread over the tree's bark to keep it healthy and well nourished. Perhaps it helps. He has eyes that can see hundreds of miles in day or in night with equal ease. Ears so sharp he can hear the wool growing on a sheep's back. The Gjallarhorn, golden and shining at his side, was once used by the god Mimir to drink from the well of knowledge. And when Jotun approach Asgard from the Rainbow Bridge at the coming of Ragnarok, it is he who will blow his horn to warn and call the gods to battle. He sleeps less than a bird, and he seldom leaves his watchfulness at the Rainbow Bridge beneath the tree, and the few times when he does is usually atop his golden-maned horse, Gulltoppr, who could get him to and from the feasts and gatherings quickly before any giants would have a chance to sneak up on Asgard. Baldur, the shining one, the beloved. On Mother's Night you might ask yourself, who weeps for Baldur? Who weeps for the beautiful son that dies to usher in the end of the world at Ragnarok, before it is reborn again at dawn? He was the most beloved of all the gods, and he remains the most beloved of all the gods. Noble and good and brave, almost everyone and everything in the world loved him. His mother, Frigg, who wove the stuff of fate, knew his life was doomed to a senseless death, no matter how brave, no matter how bold he was. She knew he would die without any battle involved. She loved her son so much that even though she knew the uselessness of defying fate and death, she traveled the 9 worlds and extracted an oath from every living thing not to harm Baldur. But she knew also that she had to leave a loophole for fate to catch up with him. So she chose the most innocuous thing she could find to be her son's weakness, the mistletoe. It was such a little plant, such a harmless plant. How could that possibly hurt him? The gods being gods, once they realized that no spear or rock or arrow or axe could harm Baldur because all the wood and metal on it would turn aside. They made a game of it. They would throw things at him, trying to kill him, and one by one all the things would veer aside, and Baldur would be unharmed. Except one. Hoder, Baldur's blind and often jealous brother, threw a mistletoe spear at Loki's urging, and to everyone's surprise except Loki's, it killed him. The death of Baldur then became the precipitating event to Ragnarok. Bragi. Bragi is the god of poetry, the best of all poets, anywhere in the 9 realms, and his voice was always clear and deep. There was never an occasion where he is at a loss for words, and every verse and line he sings is perfect and charming. During the 12 nights of Yule, I always honor him on the 12th night, usually with poetry, writing, and good music, and sometimes a Mad Lib or two. Poetry, music, and the singers and writers of those songs were very important in Norse culture. No king or hall was complete without someone to tell stories, sing songs, and make merry. Because what else is there to do on a long, dark, cold winter's night but to watch and learn and hear? Yo, brothers, I sing to you the song of Denmark, the song of Beowulf, the sagas, the lore, the legends. A good poem or song or story ensures one's immortality long after they die. There are so many examples of this, but the one that always stands out for me personally is Gordon Lightfoot and the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. How many of us, living long after these people died, would know about that great ship and crew if we didn't have his song to immortalize them and listen to every November when the winds come up on Gitchigumi? I firmly believe Bragi had a hand in the making of that song, even if Gordon Lightfoot didn't know it. And last but not least, let's talk about Ullr. Ullr is an enigmatic god now, but it is almost certain he was once an extremely prominent and important god among the Norse people. In one story, the last oath sworn to Ullr was held by Odin to be of the utmost importance. There is an allusion in a medieval Danish manuscript of a story in which Odin was in exile and Ullr assumed leadership of the gods of Asgard. Also, many place names in Scandinavia have Ullr and Hof, or temple, at their roots, implying there may have been many temples to Ullr spread throughout the land. Perhaps his importance and connection to that land? He was, after all, a god of skiing, hunting, and archery, made him a target in the earliest eras of Christianization, to the point where memory of his worship was wiped out. Perhaps in those sacred places there were yew trees dedicated to him that were killed and cut down, and maybe even made into places like churches. We will not know necessarily, because like the Norse goddesses we will discuss in the next video, it's hard to know now just how much we have lost.